Hej alle sammen. Vi er i London. Vi har besøg af Benjamin Deery, der lige nu i aften faktisk har en premiere på West End. Men han har også medvirket i The Woman in Black tilbage i 2011 som den ene af de to karakterer, de to skuespillere, der medvirker i forestillingen. Det her er en lille snak med Benjamin om strukturer i teater, om gys, og om hvorfor at teater kan være så uhyggeligt. And also starring in 2011, 2012, in the Fortune Theatre's production of The Woman in Black, which we are greatly thankful for, because if it hadn't been for that, we would have no job in Denmark right now. Yeah. Our show, Clara and Sarah, is very much inspired by The Woman in Black. Yeah. Cecil, several times yesterday when we saw the show, when she had like something that reminded of where she could see, oh, that's the inspiration from that. Yeah. I got a little like, oh,
no, that's right.
And then like that's where I got it from. Yeah. And just like from the beginning of it, how did you get involved with The Woman in Black?
Well, I'm very, very grateful to The Woman in Black too, because it was an amazing experience, a wonderful job, and I've learned a lot about theatre doing it, I think. I got involved because the director, Robin Hereford, he had actually asked, I think he'd asked my agent if I was around to audition for a production of, I think it was Private Lives, something like that, an old Cower play at the Oldham Coliseum. He was directing it. And I couldn't go because I was doing another job, so it was a missed connection, didn't happen. But about 4 months later, he was putting together lists of actors to see for the next production for the next cast rather, of The Woman in Black, and I guess my name was sort of still on his list somewhere from that. And he called me in, so I'd never met him before, but I went along to meet him at the Fortune. It's an amazing experience auditioning for The Woman in Black because you do it on the stage. You turn up at the Fortune Theatre and you sort of wait in the foyer and somebody comes and gets you and leads you into the auditorium. And it's a bit like the beginning of the play, except you're Arthur Kipps and Robin Hereford is the actor. But that's kind of what you're doing. He does it with you. Yeah. It's a really interesting, it's the only time I've ever had that where the director, because Robin himself is an actor and acted a lot as well as directing, and knows the show backwards because he's been working on it for 30 years.
Yeah, 30 years.
So he does it with you. So he plays the other part and you audition with him. And it's kind of surreal. Like as I say, normally you're used to having somebody just reading behind a desk, and the director's kind of just sort of looking at you. He's acting.
Plays it out with you.
Yeah. But anyway, so I went for this audition and had a really great time doing it and thought, I'd love to do that job. But you never know. And then I think it was about 3 or 4 days later I got the phone call and they said, yeah, they want you to do it. So that was how it began.
It's like also like a quick process.
It was pretty quick.
Like on stage.
Yeah. But it was a long. I mean, we worked for about 25 minutes. It wasn't. It was fairly kind of. In terms of what we did, we went over the scene a couple of times, and he was very, very. He knows exactly what he's looking for, and he's very good at kind of teasing it out. So, and again, he knows the show so well that he kind
after
of
30 years, you kind of know like where
he knows
what
he needs to see. But yeah, and then I got the job and turned up day one, met David Acton, who's the actor I did it with, and that was the beginning of 10 great months. Yeah.
Yeah, because the cast changes like
10
months.
So the idea is you do 40 weeks of performing, and then you've got 3 weeks on top of that of the rehearsal.
Yeah.
And he does that, partly to keep the show fresh, partly because it's interesting to him, I think, to work with lots of different actors. I think that's happened, especially a lot more recently, is that people have started kind of coming back in.
Yeah.
And that's partly because the show's been touring, so they've had to have 2 casts going.
Anthony Eden went on tour.
Yeah, he did. Anthony Eden has done it. He did it at the West End right before me.
Yeah.
He has toured it since. He's also actually done quite a lot of directing on it.
Yeah.
Because Anthony, like Robin, is a director and an actor. And there's been a few occasions over the past few years where for various reasons it's been difficult for Robin to be around all the time. And so Anthony Eden has actually been coming in and doing some of the directing. So he's a central part of the Woman in Black family now.
Protégé of
absolutely. He kind of is. He kind of is.
What scene was it that you were auditioning for?
Yeah, great question. It was that first big section
Yeah.
So that first bit where you're in the theatre and Kipps is trying to deliver his speech from the podium, and you have to basically heckle him.
Yeah, that's exactly what he does. Like,
and then come up and deliver that whole first monologue, and so it was that really, and it's a brilliant piece for an audition for that play. It does have everything in it. It has everything in it. You have to be able to build that rapport between the two characters. You have to be able to play the actor as the kind of, he does have a duty of care towards Kipps. He is trying to help him, but he's also quite robust with him. He does tease him, he does mock him a bit, and
very much in the beginning.
At the beginning. So you have to have that humour has to be in there. That slightly kind of old-fashioned. It's funny because there's an arrogance to it, but it's an enjoyable arrogance. You don't want people to think, oh, this guy's just.
Because that's kind of like the balance of the actor to begin with, like, because you have to make sure that Arthur Kipps wants to this was a mistake and I shouldn't have done it, and this is very dear to me. And like the more that the actor puts into Arthur Kipps that this is a mistake, the more important the story gets that he wants to tell. Like I need to be here. Yeah,
as he says, it must be told.
It must be told. Yeah.
And it's, you don't want the audience to be thinking, oh, we don't like this guy, because the actor has to be kind of taking them on the journey.
Yeah.
So it is a tricky balance to strike. You've got to be. The thing that Robin always said about it, which I think it resonates with actors, is that the jokes, they're not at the expense of Kipps.
No.
Only insofar as that Kipps has underestimated what he's trying to do, which is how most actors feel.
That's very precise, yeah.
This is how most actors feel about the world in general, especially now.
Definitely.
This idea that acting is easy.
It's easy,
anyone can do it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the humour comes from, is Robin just kind of, and Stephen Malatra, who wrote it obviously, gently just reminding the audience, this is actually quite hard, and it requires skill and training and preparation. You can't just stand up.
Kind of showing like a professional showing an amateur actor, like to begin with.
But then his point is, the point the actor's making is it's not your fault that you're rubbish.
No, it's hard. It's not just
The reason why you're crap at this is that it's really difficult.
Expect to learn it in 5 minutes.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So that's the piece anyway that you do for the audition.
Definitely. How is, because as we said, like you're playing the actor.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have like his own character, because right away he goes into being Arthur Kipps, who is the old guy, like the older man.
Yeah.
How much a sense of like your own character compared to like the actor playing Arthur Kipps? Like you're kind of playing two, or like playing an actor who plays someone else. And we actually only see the actor like so briefly compared to the whole length of the play, because we see him as Arthur Kipps.
It's very true.
How much do you perceive the actor, like yourself as an actor, to be the actor or being Arthur Kipps?
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Because what you actually are is an actor playing an actor who's playing Arthur Kipps.
Exactly.
I think the way I used to try and approach that, if I'm remembering correctly, is I try and keep it as simple as possible, really. So for the sections of the play that were them telling the story of the woman in black, of what happens to Arthur Kipps, I would basically just concentrate on trying to play that character, and sort of hope that the very fact that the audience has seen the interplay between Kipps and the actor before is still there, but you don't necessarily have to do it. It's a bit like lying on stage. If you're trying to lie to a character on stage, the best thing to do is to try and tell that lie as convincingly as possible. If you start
don't tell the lie.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't kind of work. So, and I think I had the same approach. I was like, well, I'm just going to concentrate on, for these moments, just try and play Kipps as well as you can. And then, as I said, because I am an actor, hopefully that's still all in. But it's great because what's really interesting about it is that the actor and Kipps do kind of converge anyway. I mean, that's the beauty of the play, is that the last beat of the whole play, obviously, not to spoil the ending, but the last beat of the whole play is us realising that the actor is about to go through the very same experience.
Exactly. Because he takes over the whole.
Yeah. The curse is now on him.
Yeah.
We know that he has a young child because it's been mentioned earlier in the play, so that obviously doesn't bode well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of by design actually that the play does that anyway. It collapses the two characters sort of into each other.
And that's something I would love to talk with you about, the design and the whole construction of the play, because I remember when we talked last year, we already talked about, and what I as well really wanted into Clara and Sarah is people know that it's a horror when they come.
Yeah.
So we have put up all, like Cecil and Sebastian, who were there with me yesterday, the whole day, like throughout the whole day. They tried to figure out, right. I tried to reel them back in.
Yeah.
But like trying to figure out, how can we not go? Because is there like, did you hear it was cancelled? I was like, it's not cancelled. Sure it's not cancelled. Like when we got the tickets, asked the ticket man, is it as scary as it is? As people say it is? So it's kind of jumpy, yeah?
Yeah, kind of jumpy, like that. Kind of jumpy.
Very much so. And the bar girl, when they had the drinks right before, said the same thing. So is it really that scary?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, it is jumpy. Like,
yeah,
I mean, it comes again.
It's an interesting, because like I was thinking about this on the way over. There's two types of like horror on stage.
Yes.
There's the kind of Grand Guignol thing that they did in Paris. You know, that's at the end of the 19th century. I think it was up until about the 60s they were still running that. It's particularly popular in the wars. And that was, the idea of that was that you put really kind of shocking things on stage and you did it in as naturalistic way as possible.
Yeah.
So they had all these special effects of people having their like chests cut open.
Exactly.
You know, all that kind of stuff. That's one way of doing it.
Yeah.
What The Woman in Black is doing, of course, is a very different tradition, which is that, as you said earlier, that ghost story, suspense kind of thing.
Yeah. Because there is no blood.
There's
no like.
You don't see anything gruesome at
any
point, really. I mean, the most unpleasant thing you might see is just the image of the woman in black's face and the kind of pain and suffering that's written on that face.
And I love that detail because that's Arthur Kipps. Like that's the worst thing he's seen.
Yeah.
So we don't have something that is like that overtakes the imagery of the woman in black. That is the most horrifying thing we've seen as well.
The woman with the wasted face, and you hear, obviously, you hear the sound of something tragic happening. This kind of replayed sound
over and over again.
Crashing. But I think the reason why it's really successful, the reason why it works really well, is that it's playing on the same mechanism that theatre operates on, which is that it's all in here. You know, it's all in the imagination. The producer of The Woman in Black, Peter Wilson, he always draws this line between the speech that Kipps has when he first arrived at Ilmarsh House. Yeah. And the older actor, the actor playing Kipps, says, imagine if you would, I can't remember the exact words, it's been years now, but it's something to do with, imagine this this stage in Nile, this a causeway, you know.
Exactly, yeah.
And Peter Wilson always draws this link between that and the speech in Henry V at the very beginning, you know, O for a Muse of Fire.
That's right.
Where Shakespeare's basically saying, look, we're in a theatre.
Exactly.
We don't have any of we don't have an army, we don't have horses.
No.
There's only 12 of us, but
imagine
that this is, you know, the battlefield.
I love that moment because it exactly does what the theatre can do and film cannot do, because the film needs to show.
Exactly, because the film's
and here it's like on theatre we would never be able to portray the imagery that people can create.
Exactly.
But if we can make people create them, then we're so far.
So that's just how it works. And the idea is that by kind of thinking, okay, so this is a play about imagination, and that's how the suspense and the horror works.
Yeah.
Because most of the time, you know, the door to the nursery doesn't get opened until right at the very end of the play. And most of the time, what you're looking at is a door with a light on it, and this sound effect of the rocking. Yeah. And that freaks people out as much as anything else.
And we witnessed that yesterday, and me for the 8th time. The door that does nothing.
Yeah.
In itself. Gets it's one of the most intense moments in
it's a character in the play.
It's
a character. Like the shape of that and the design of it is great, because there's something about that door that's a bit freaky. It almost looks like a sort of Munch screen kind of shape for eyes and a mouth. But it is great. It's that image is I mean that I can still picture that door really clearly from doing that show.
Oh, definitely. I don't think I've ever
looking at it, and it is a really striking image.
Yeah.
And so what Stephen Malachrat, who did the adaptation, did, which was brilliant, is he said, well, okay, so we're going to try and do a play that's essentially a horror play, it's a suspense play. It's all about the imagination and how theatre, you know, requires the imagination from the audience to work.
Yeah.
So why don't we make that part of the whole story and introduce this whole framing section of, because obviously Susan Hill's novel is just a man called Arthur Kipps writing a story, writing a recollection of what happened to him when he was a young man. And what Stephen Malachak did is he added the whole thing of the actor, of Kipps going to a theatre and saying, right, I want to declaim this, and
I think
and saying, no, we need to stage it, let's do it as a production, let's do it as a play.
Yeah.
That, and Robin, again, is always really funny when he talks about that, because it's a great, really true, really believable thing that this actor does want to help, but he also thinks this guy really
want to do a production.
Exactly. Yeah. So
and Arthur Kipps was like, it's not a play.
It's like, no, it could be a play.
Yeah. I mean, only for your friends and family.
Yeah, exactly. And some
few producers.
Exactly. Yeah. so that's great. That's very funny that that's in there. But yes, it's the reason why it works so well. I think is that all that stuff is in the structure. That it's all about how does theatre work, what is theatre, and on what basis does it operate? Well, how does it work? And it is, using your imagination.
And it feels like it's such a tribute to theatre. This play, like as you
is,
say, we're not trying to make theatre into something that we've never seen before. It's like, this is theatre.
Yeah.
Let's use every part
constantly telling you that it's theatre.
Yeah. And like, I think the amazing thing about having this, like this framework of we're at a theatre, these empty seats, stalls.
Yeah.
Like, we constantly come back to that.
Yeah.
Is we have like, when we're so invested in Arthur Kipps' story, we need to breathe.
Yeah.
Like, we need to just have some sort of like, because we forget
Yes,
that
yeah,
they're at a theatre, and like we're just seeing like their staged version of what's happening.
Their rehearsal,
Their rehearsal.
Yeah, Robin Herford is very good about, he's because he knows it so well, and he's very clear on the purpose of all those little interludes. And they happen less and less as the story goes on.
Yes.
So the second act, you don't really come out of the story. You're kind of just at the Marsh house. But in the first act, there's a lot of those popping out, lighting change moments. And it's all setting up, getting the audience into the right place that the second half of the play can work. So it's partly to do with comic relief, because there needs to be lightness at the beginning. It can't all just be, at the very beginning, otherwise it wouldn't work.
I think
people would just sort of scoff and
people would have enough at a point. Like,
and they'd also, you would tire.
Like a horror film where you get like boo, 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 constantly at a point. Like, I still get scared, but now I'm just angry now.
Yeah,
there's nothing in it. And I remember talking with Anthony Eden after watching it, thinking, what did I just witness? That was incredible. Coming back and then say, like, Anthony, we laughed the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Why do we do that? Because I need to, if I need to build like Clara and Sarah the plays, I need to understand the construction of it.
Yeah.
I can't just sit down and then a ghost comes in.
Yeah,
it's just not enough. I mean,
it's funny. So some of the laughter is because people have turned up and they've heard that it's a scary play. So there's a sort of nervous tension. But a lot of the laughs is coming from the script, and the reason why it's there is it's like softening you up. It's getting you relaxed, because it's only once you're kind of relaxed and receptive that the rest of it can work. If people come in and they're sort of on edge, and they're a bit suspicious about what's going to happen, then the play won't work as well. It needs to have a receptive audience who are relaxed and kind of enjoying it in order for the rest of it to actually function. Yeah.
I remember Anthony saying to me, like, how do you enter the theatre? I said, I enter it like this because I know it's a horror film.
Yeah.
How do you feel when you're laughing? I said, well, I'm relaxed and I'm forgetting that it's a horror play.
Exactly.
Yeah. As soon as you forget what it is you need to be afraid of, we already have our hands around you. Like, you're already invested in the story, and now you can't get up.
Yeah.
Because there's these small things of the actor coming to the theatre, and it's like it's a rundown theatre. There's holes in the ceiling,
buckets on the
and the buckets are kind of just there for providing this shock that that's right.
You know what was just a little funny detail about that. The Fortune Theatre, I think, has since had the roof fixed, but when we were in there in 2011, one day it really did tip it down.
Really?
And it actually did drip onto the stage. There was a moment where I almost completely fell over because I just slipped on it. So the irony of that, the theatre, it actually was a bit. Yeah, I think they fixed it now. I think they've gone up in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it needs to do that because people. that play requires so much from the audience.
Mm.
You need to get them relaxed and calm and receptive in order for it to kind of work. Again, a lot of the fear comes from things like the door that you see, and like when you finally go into that room, what's really interesting about that is this has been building up all through the play. This door that we can't open, it's locked. There's no bolt. There's no keyhole. There's no bolt on the outside. How is it locked? Why is it locked? I can't get it open. He tries, so it won't. Can't get through. Then finally, he's approaching it in the middle of the night, and the door suddenly opens. Yeah. You walk inside, and your mind, has already by that point, because that's been put in front of you. You first saw that door half an hour, 45 minutes ago. I can't even remember, but you've had time in your head to think, what could be inside? What could be inside there? What awful thing could it be? Yeah. You go in, and it's a child's nursery. Yeah. So on the one hand, you think, okay, that's not scary. But then it's also really scary because there's something scary. There's something uncanny and weird about that. Something that you associate with childhood and innocence.
It would be less scary if it would be like a haunted den or something like that. It would be like, I get it.
If there was just like, a skeleton going, whoa, it would be, okay, great. But because it's so disarming and weird, you walk in, it's a child's nursery. Okay, not what I was expecting. Yeah. But something about that is unsettling. What's going on here? Yeah. What could this mean? And then, I always found it incredibly moving. Genuinely, when I was doing the show, every night, when I go back into the nursery and it's been disturbed.
That is one of my favourite moments in the play.
Really upset, like genuinely sort of choked up on stage. Because, I guess it's that thing of childhood being destroyed and lost. Yeah. This terrible thing that's happened to an innocent child. And then the figurative representation of that on stage is he goes back to the nursery and it's been trashed. Yeah. And it's that thing of, I remember, I think this is a direction that Robin gives every actor. I think you have to do it for technical reasons. But one of the things was putting the rocking chair, putting it back. But that gesture always felt to me like a desperate kind of trying to put everything, to undo the terrible thing that happened. Yeah. And of course he realises that he can't, so he just runs out of the room. But that thing of like, this shouldn't have happened, and the misery. Another thing about the woman in black that's great, I think, is that it's not about an evil spirit that comes along. Exactly. I mean, obviously
it's not a demon.
No, I mean obviously the ghost of the woman in black causes terrible things to happen, but at the root of the story, it's a woman that had a horrible thing happen to her. Yes. And understandably is absolutely destroyed by it, and that's where it's not. It's, as you say, it's not a demon. It's not like a sort of satanic creature that just wants. It's grief. It's pain. It's sadness.
It's something incredibly human. Yeah. And like earth bound, and that was one of the biggest things that I took with me in trying to create Clown and Sarah is it cannot be a ghost story. Like that's the surrounding of it. It needs to be
something human. Yeah.
It needs to be something very human. Totally. And I thought like the worst thing that I could imagine, and that I've heard people talk about, and actually also inspired by the actor going back into the room, or the Arthur Kipps going back into the room, and the nursery is torn apart.
Disarray.
I knew it has to be a kid.
Yeah.
Because there's something
about
that
that obviously taps into all of us.
So it's about a man who's lost something.
Yeah, exactly.
And everyone knows that. It's not it's for everyone who's lost a kid.
No,
it's for everyone who's lost a teddy bear or a girlfriend.
Or obviously that's the most sort of harrowing and the most sort of nightmarish version of it, is the experience of the, especially, well, even if you're not a parent, I think you can imagine that. You can
imagine something happening.
It must be like. I mean, you can't imagine the full reality of the horror of that grief, but you can imagine something on a level of what it might feel like, and it is that fear of, God, how would you cope if something like that happened to you?
Do you think you would play differently now that you're
having kids? Funny you say that, so I have a daughter who was born 2 years ago, so a good few years after I finished doing All in Black. I don't know if I'd approach playing it differently. I guess I'd just understand a bit more. I'd probably find it hard. I'd probably find it harder. So that last speech in the play, obviously, where the actor describes what happens to his baby, his daughter being. Is it? I can't remember now. That's what I'm thinking because I've got a daughter. No, it's a son. It's a son in the play, isn't it? But the idea of that the pony and trap accident and the death of his his wife and his child. That would probably be harder to do now, because if you were doing it well, presumably you would be putting, really getting yourself into that place. And it's doing that when you don't have a child is kind of fairly safe, because you can get out very quickly. You finish the performance and you go, okay, fine, that was all.
That was it. There's nothing.
The sad thing would be now doing it. I'd worry that
actually.
I'd worry that I'd then spend the next half an hour in the dressing room going, oh my God.
And the actual sense, like I imagine losing my own kid.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and that's what inevitably happened. So in a sense, I guess it was a blessing that I didn't have a child then, because I didn't have to worry about that. I would find that kind of thing really hard to do now. I'd still do it, because obviously that's why you act. It's because you want to go to those places and explore those emotions. I think what would be hard about it would be, as I say, like getting out of it, because as any parent knows, if you once those thoughts get in your head, it's bloody hard to kind of get back to normality. It's the problem that, it's a cliche, but it's the problem that you have reading the news when you're a parent, is if you see an article about something terrible that's happened to a small child, you spend the next hour just unable to function properly, because you can't get it out of your head.
How did you meet that moment then, like not having that, like what is your...
Well, like you said, I mean, I guess the difference is that you like with any acting, you're looking at experiences that you haven't necessarily had yourself, but you're finding a way in through things that you have experienced. So as I say, I'd always try and get to that place, but again, getting out of it again is easier, I suppose, when you're in that situation. I was going to ask, actually, just while we're on this subject, because I think it is a really interesting fact about The Woman in Black and also your work, but there's also, have you seen that film called The Babadook? Because that's a very similar idea. The idea that what makes that, I think, work quite well is that it's not a kind of monster from hell or a witch. At the end of the day, it's a metaphor for bereavement and grief. It's a sort of, in that film, the idea of this figure is that it represents this woman's struggle to reconcile herself to the death of her husband. And the way that comes out in sometimes resenting her child, all the kind of messy, difficult human emotions that are created when something goes wrong, when there's a tragedy in life. And that's why these things work really well, because on the one level we're going, oh, it's a ghost story, how exciting, the suspense of that. But also we know on another level that there's something about this which is not supernatural at all, and it's actually about pain and suffering and the things that people go through in life.
And I think that's why at least in my opinion, like in my view, it's such a, it will always be relevant. Like that's how a horror play in the world of drama and musical in London's West End. And then you have this niche play that plays in like a theatre with 450
seats. It's been there for 30 years.
30 years. Like and for
every production directed by Robin Herford, by the way, every cast. He does every single one.
But that,
with some help from Anthony now as well. But he's always, in terms of casting it.
At a point, you know what you're looking for.
Yeah, but the great thing about that is that it means that you have loads of freedom as well. Because if you were in a situation where the original director had done it a few times and then said, right, I'm off, and you had an associate there, the associate's job would be keep the show like this. The great thing about the fact that Robin directs it every time is that it's his, he kind of owns it, it's his show. So if you have an idea about something, doing something a bit differently and he likes it, you can do it.
Because
he says that to you, he says, look, I'm here, I direct this show, it's my show. We have total license to do it how you want to do it. There's certain things that have to happen, that lighting cue happens there, that sound cue happens there, so there's certain things that are kind of, they have to be observed. But in terms of how you want to play it and different ideas that you want to bring to it.
That's one of the things that really have taken me by surprise is, like, one thing is, yes, of course, like, we need these things to happen, and there's a certain counting and so on, but, like, there's been so many different casts. There's been, like, one is very, very comedic focused, one is very, very, like, old-fashioned drama, like, old-school acting, one is very, like, musically flowing, and, like, the character as well gets to in some way be like very melodic, and it's still The Woman in Black. Like it doesn't go either against or like above the story, because the story is just it'll always be that. Which is kind of remarkable, I think, for something to do that, and definitely for us Danish people, where like a play plays 2 months. and then it's like, oh, the audience wants something new.
Right.
Whereas like
Well, I mean, you've seen it, I think, probably more times than anyone I know. I'm
probably
pretty sure you have.
I nerded up when I need to do.
Well, apart from Robin, obviously, he's seen it, yeah. Well, apart from him, I think you've probably seen it.
Like the whole like
yeah.
Ninth Out and Christmas Eve and so on and so on.
Yeah.
Like I take myself like ad-libbing it
Yeah,
while I'm like.
Have to transfer yourself doing that. So yeah, it's great that you would say that, because I know that's how Robin feels about it. We had a 30th anniversary thing this year, and loads of former actors who've been in it all got together. Old actors who played Kips, basically we had this big evening where we went to see the show, which must have been really weird for Matthew Spencer and Stuart Fox, who were doing it that night, to know that basically the entire audience is basically actors who've done this before. But they did that, and we had this thing, and Robin gave this beautiful speech at the end of it, where he basically said, I look out across this audience and I see all these people who do it, and I'm reminded of every different cast that I've directed in this show, and he feels like there have been, even though it's one production that's run for 30 years, he feels like weirdly there's been, however many casts it is, it must be 40, I don't know. It has been that many different versions of the show, because every version is different.
Exactly.
Both the actors, both the actor and Kips, bring a lot of themselves to it. You have to, because of the way it works. It's just two people on stage. You haven't got anything to rely on really, apart from yourself, your own personality as a performer, and your own ideas as an artist. You have to bring all that to it. It's not like there's a marching band and a load of special effects. No. It's just you guys. So you bring a lot of yourself to it, and that means that the play inevitably, the flavour of it changes depending on who's doing it. And I think that's one of the reasons why Robin still loves doing it. He comes back every 9 months to direct it, because every time it's fresh. It's like, right, what's it going to be like this time?
How do you feel about, if you remember, like the audience gets to be, like at a musical we sit and we clap and we sing along if we know like Lion King and so on.
Yeah.
But like we get to be, at the Fortune Theatre, we get to be like, it's one unity. Because we're kind of like, we're with the actor and like, okay, what happens now? And like, but we're so terrified that everyone is like, we're together against this spirit thing. But I could imagine, and I felt like the door always works. The hand thing.
That was my favourite effect.
I love it. I love it. And like last night there were a kid who saw it the first. He was like, no! And then people started
react to that.
What didn't I see?
Exactly.
And then as soon as he comes out, and they see it's the hand, everyone cries.
That was my favourite effect for exactly that reason that you just said, because you'd get first of all, it was great to get such a big reaction for something that was so simple.
It's so simple.
I mean, it's straight. It really is basically.
But the idea of it is so detailed. Like it's
hard to pull off. Yeah, like I remember I had to. I'd had about 4 different versions of that.
Yeah.
Over the course of the run, I tried different hand positions, different speeds, starting there, moving the shapes, all those kind of things. Had lots of different versions of it before I finally hit on the one that I felt really worked. But it's great because it's so simple. It's just basic theatre. As you say, it gets a great reaction first, and then when the audience realise what it is that they're shocked by, they laugh at their own kind of ridiculousness. Like, I can't believe that scared me so much. It's just a candle in a bloke's hand.
And funny enough,
that's great.
Yesterday, after we saw, it's just his hand. Then he walks on the front of the carpet.
Yeah.
And the hand comes kind of back again. And some of the people were like, no, no, we agree. We know the trick now. It's done. Don't get the hand back. Was there at any point where you get accustomed to because I feel the audience sometimes feels different things are the most terrifying.
They were different every night. They were different every night. There were certain things that you would hope, like the hand, a rocking chair again. There's a few things that you sort of hope they should work. If we've done our job properly, they should get big reactions. But every night was different. There were some nights when people were absolutely terrified and screaming. There were some nights where the energy was much more kind of, oh, this is scary, but we're sort of enjoying it. There were some nights where it was a very thoughtful audience who were quite quiet, but at the end of the show, you realise that they've really been listening and gone on the journey with you. And in terms of what audiences found scary, that changed every night. And the great thing about doing a show like that is when something unexpected happens, it can make it, even just something as simple as something falling over, people jump because they weren't expecting it, whatever. So
I really don't want to like put off Cecil out, but we had at a point just saying like at a point your nerves are so fast that like everything can get you. And when Keckwick gets him from the with the pony and trap gets him from Ilmarsh, and they're going and they have this boom,
the bump,
the bump, and like okay, it's just a bump. But I'm sitting next to Cecil, who's like, no, and
that's great.
Literally just
that's great. That's when it's the expectations are working.
Exactly.
When because that again, the audience is doing that themselves.
Yeah.
We're not doing anything. The audience is doing it to themselves, and that's great. That's how it should be.
And I feel as well like playing a horror play. It's like we have to stay aware and open like constantly. Like there's no meeting in and then be like, yeah, well, I don't feel it today. It's just it's not a thing.
And again, there's only two. Well, I keep saying there's only two of you. Obviously, there is also one, but we're not meant to say that. This is I used to get really confused because when we talked to the press, we were literally not meant to acknowledge the existence of the woman in black. And then I go, so I kept referring it to as a two-hander.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, it's not a two-hander.
Well, it's actually
there's a whole Rosie's in this. Like, there's a person I see every day who's in this show.
Clara and Sarah is like a monologue.
Right. Yeah. Cool.
And because we beat this up. The ghost. And no one knows.
Yeah, because if you're expecting that, if you sit down and it's in the program and there's a post photo, it's not gonna work. But there's only 2-3 of you. So the idea of kind of going, I might phone it in today. It doesn't work.
No.
It's not fair on the other actor as well.
No, it's not fair for them. Like it's not fair for anyone. And someone is like having their first theatre experience, and like so it's there's always that level of responsibility for an actor to like go in and Do we have like I could continue this for days. You asked for a stop. We didn't do that. We started over again. I'm so very sorry. Benjamin Deery, who's starring in West End with a premiere tonight.
Just in preview.
Yeah. And we better get you to the theatre. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for taking your time. We're playing Sarah in October, the 22nd October. Maybe I should do this in Danish actually, just for our audience. 22. oktober til den 31. oktober spiller vi i København. Sarah, til næste år spiller vi Clara. Forhåbentlig får vi Benjamin at se til den tid. Vi glæder os til at spille den for jer. Jeg håber, I har fået noget ud af det her. Vi ses i København om en måned. Vi ses på Sankt Teater.